More than probably any other year in recent memory, 2021 is going to be a year of two halves, and nowhere is that pandemic, post-pandemic divide more clear than in WWE, with July being the month where they fling open their doors and welcome the unwashed masses back to professional wrestling. With the first 6 months of the year in the books, in the pocket, out of sight, love you OSW, let's have a look back at the 10 best matches from the final pandemic months of the big dub. And hey, we give out about WWE a lot, often with good reason, but this list was hard, with stacks of honorable mentions like both Rumbles, sorry, can't bring myself to put no fans Rumbles on the list, everything Kushida is doing in NXT right now, Ripley, Asuka, Flair, Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly was brutal if a teeny bit too long, the fatal 5-way from In Your House, the SmackDown Chamber match. There are so many savage omissions from this list, and I look forward to hearing your emotional reactions to each and every one of them. I'm Adam hailing from PartsFUNknown, and these are the 10 best WWE matches of 2021 so far. Let us know your favorite WWE matches of the year in the comments. I'll reply to the most top voted comment, and for the love of God, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn your notifications on so you never miss a PFK list. Finally, stick around at the end for a word from Surfshark, our sponsors for this week's episode. Number 10, Drew McIntyre vs. Sheamus, Raw, March 1st. WWE sure enjoyed hiding match of the year candidates on free TV this year, didn't they? With this being the first of two former friends club the out of each other on a fairly random ass episode of Weekly Telly in a match that was somehow better than the corresponding pay-per-view matches. Catchy category, I know, I'm a writer. On March 1st, the Celtic Hog Beast went to War Bastard in a match drenched in history, whiskey, and sweat. Honestly, though, this match had no right to go as hard as it did, with the closing 5 minutes being nothing but Hoss move after Hoss move after Hoss move, most of them from the top rope, because why not, I guess, as soft southerners cheering on Ireland and Scotland, destroying each other, hoping that they never have the idea of getting together and revenging themselves on the English. Their no-holds-barred match at Fastlane 3 weeks later was also very good indeed, but all the weapon spots in the world couldn't match up to this match's intensity. Also, that closing bro kick Claymore spot, Chef Glasgow kiss. Number 9, MSK versus Grizzled Young Veterans versus Legado del Fantasma, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. And now for some very beautiful dancing. After Undisputed Era finally fractured like a Westlife commemorative plate, there were slight doom clouds on the horizon for NXT's tag team division. Thank the Lord then for the adrenaline injection of MSK, two supernaturally charming and acrobatic showmen whose feud with the forever underrated Grizzled Young Veterans held the division together in a time of trouble. At Stand and Deliver Night 1, one of the strongest overall nights of wrestling in a very long time, by the way, the vacant tag straps were up for grabs in a 3-way MSK versus GYV versus LDF, and it's amazing what genuine unpredictability can do for a match. Would WWE go all in on MSK after they won the Dusty Classic? Would the veterans take it to redeem their loss in that tournament? Would Legado steal it so they could do the faction holds all the gold moment? All three options worked, which gave the match an undeniable electricity, even before it came a stupefying acrobatic casserole of mayhem and hurled flesh. A hugely entertaining statement on NXT Tag Team Wrestling, even before the Brothers of Dadstruction, Ciampa and Thatcher got involved. Number 8, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens, Last Man Standing, SmackDown July 2nd. Part 2 in the former friends club the out of each other on a fairly random ass episode of Weekly Telly in a match that was somehow better than the corresponding pay-per-view matches category, Electric Boogaloo. Call it recency bias, but hot dog, this match ruled one of the sassiest and incongruously violent affairs to not be featured on pay-per-view in a long time. Look at Sami Zayn's back after the match. That pain must be castronomical. Everything you could want from a KO Zayn Last Man Standing match is here. KO building a tower of weaponry, which of course guaranteed that his hamster ass would be the one to plummet through it. A match narrative told through amazing facials, and of course callbacks to their long and cruel history together, with that final trilogy of powerbombs harkening as far back as 2015. I mean, it's so hilariously WWE that these two men would legit shorten each other's careers fighting over a spot in a Money in the Bank ladder match, only for the very next segment to feature Selena Vega being just announced as also qualifying for a spot. But even loopy Vince logic can't take away from this knuckle fest of glorious violence, quite literally fight forever. Number 7, Finn Balor versus Pete Dunne, NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day. Has it been a wrestling glow-up in recent memory greater than Finn Balor's return to NXT? Going from an empty-eye smiler on the main roster, reminiscent of your brother's high friend who's always somehow in your kitchen, to a rock and roller psychopath with history's biggest and meanest penis. Throw him in with one of wrestling's best current technicians in Pete Dunne, and baby, you got a stew going. Short of maybe Kyle O'Reilly, there's no one out here stretching people better than Pete Dunne, and for the most part, this is a clinic of psychologically taught, focused, ultra-convincing joint manipulation and counter-wrestling, broken up by brief flashes of stiff and sinister violence. Dunne catching Balor's coup de grace into a triangle choke is a thing of beauty. Likewise, the glorious false finish of Dunne, crotching Balor with his own arm, leading to a bitter end. While the first half may be a little too technical for some, the closing 5 minutes are classic TakeOver main event. Big, desperate moves, albeit still held together with Dunne's fixation on breaking fingers, a connoisseur's choice. Number 6, Bobby Lashley versus Braun Strowman versus Drew McIntyre, WrestleMania Backlash. Sometimes though, more is more, and this is a giant filthy cheeseburger of a match. 3 titans doing horrible things to each other in a match that skips the beginning and goes straight to Armageddon. Some people say that Vince still hasn't slept since this match. It's all his fantasies come true. Just an endless carnival of thudding meat and a litany of things happening that should not be able to happen. Braun Strowman should not be able to hit a somersault plancher off the ring apron to the outside. Drew McIntyre should not be able to hit a Michinoku driver to Braun Strowman. Braun shouldn't be able to catch a Claymore into a powerbomb through the announce table. It is so much all the time, and all of it very dangerous looking indeed. Silly wrestling. Silly, stupid wrestling. Braun, you are missed. Number 5, Roman Reigns versus Cesaro, WrestleMania Backlash. Spoiler alert, you're going to see a bit of Roman Reigns in the top 5 because, you know, he's kind of the best thing in all of wrestling not called Adam Page. I will acknowledge Roman as the head of this particular table because his run's been booked to pretty much perfection from SummerSlam, and a lot of that has to do with the choice of Roman's opponents. Every month, Roman's out here with the best indie stars of the generation and keeping up. Kevin Owens, a certain GOAT that we'll get to, and of course, Cesaro, who hasn't felt this important since 2014, and Jesus Christ, it's about time. At WrestleMania Backlash, which zombies aside was a glorious pay-per-view turns out, the Big Dog and the Big Tony went 30 minutes, and yes, this is what we've been asking for. We were right to want this all along. Some gorgeously fluid wrestling paired with the well-established, story-driven moments we've come to expect from Roman Reigns matches, be it always great value Paul Heyman at ringside, the long-term Uso storyline, or simply the Tribal Chief's poise and disdain for his opponent, even when that opponent is able to snatch him with an uppercut at a moment's notice. Could have done without the distracting vampire teeth, Big Ches, but that's my only quibble. Number 4, Daniel Bryan versus Edge versus Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 37. Once this match starts, it never stops. Calling to mind one of the greatest triple threats of all time, Seth Rollins versus John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. From the ringside goons getting involved before getting demolished, to the uneasy alliances, to take care of the bigger threat. Man, that double submission spot devolving into dueling headbutts. Such a punch-the-air moment of silly wrestling humor and desperate ingenuity. Like the NXT tag triple threat we mentioned earlier, it's another match hugely benefited by seeds of unpredictable doubt. Edge was a nostalgic favorite, Roman was the unstoppable champion, Bryan was the fly in the ointment, the pain in the ass, and those 3 stories wove themselves together seamlessly, with everyone looking like a superstar right up until the finish, which crowned Roman as the superstar who eats superstars for fucking breakfast. To be specific, a pancake breakfast, stacks on stacks. Number 3, Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks, WrestleMania 37. Sometimes it's not about the moves, it's about the occasion. It's about the right people having the right match on the right night. The twin main events of WrestleMania 37 ruled. And while the triple threat had the violence, this had the emotion, the culmination of WWE thankfully deciding to conclusively pull the trigger on Bianca Belair after numerous false starts. A move totally vindicated by the This Is Awesome chants before the match even began. The bout itself was stellar. Bianca's a superstar, and honestly, there are fewer, more reliable big match wrestlers in the industry than Sasha Banks. While most people will just remember the hair whip spot in isolation, one of the best spots of the year, sound like a fucking gunshot. There's so much good stuff here. Bianca gorilla pressing Sasha and walking up the ring steps with her like a terrifying monster. Bianca suplex deadlifting her 3 times in the same spot. Sasha wrapping Bianca up in her own hair. It is grand stuff, suitable for the grandest stage of them all. Number 2, Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. Only Walter could convincingly end a match with a knife-edge chop. He is one of the single greatest attractions going right now, and please WWE, do not f*** up Walter. Remember Survivor Series 2019? Do not f*** got Walter again. This match is eye-watering and I love it so. For a while, Tommaso Ciampa's brand of Rasputin-flavored ultra-violence has lain dormant in NXT, occasionally bubbling to the surface to create magic. His matches with Thatcher were wonderful. His match with Walter is another level. The multiple chops, including the hilarious spot of Walter chopping through the announce table, him nearly decapitating Ciampa in the best big boot since the late great Test, Ciampa somehow hitting a fairy tale ending on the world's largest and most threatening baby. It all just feels real. Every last horrible scrap of it. The selling, the strikes, the sounds, the welts, the finish, a wonderful exhibition, and an increasing legacy of pain for both competitors. This was a dream matchup. And number one, Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan, SmackDown, April 30th. Match of the year so far was on bloody SmackDown, lads. I can't believe it either. Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns, with Bryan being banished from SmackDown if he loses. Doesn't really get much more blockbuster than that, and this lived up to it. And hell, what a match to debut a new theme as Roman ascends to final boss status. It's WWE's version of Sephiroth's theme, and I am so here for it. Anyway, the match is f***ing brilliant. Daniel Bryan wrestles like it's his last match, turbocharged with speed, intensity, and raw facial emotion. Him and Reigns are a perfect blend of speed and power. Roman hitting him with huge moves like a top rope powerbomb, and Bryan being able to strike little and often at Roman's arms whilst using his own speed against him. Joyous stuff, even without the huge and legitimate stake, which WWE, rare for them, actually followed through on, delivering a definitive finish, clean no less, and a result that increases in significance for every subsequent week that Daniel Bryan remains missing in action. The only downside was that this match didn't happen in front of fans, and honestly, I can't wait for wrestling to be wrestling again. Hey, you've just finished watching one of our lists. We super appreciate that, and now you're probably going to be served a lot of videos because of your viewing history. Sometimes it feels like the internet's following us around, knowing too much about us, like DDP following The Undertaker's wife. Careful there, the internet. You're about to get buried at King of the Ring. Whether you're using US Netflix in the UK to watch classic Twilight Zone episodes, or in the US you want to watch His Dark Materials on iPlayer, Surfshark VPN secures your data with uncrackable encryption, secure VPN protocols, and maintains a strict no-logs policy that prevents companies from logging their users' data. It's not just about privacy, it's about safety too, as Surfshark automatically blocks more than 1 million known malicious websites, phishing methods, and other threats. Get out of here, DDP. Browse securely and safely with Surfshark. Try it today at surfshark.deals/jamthatjam. Enter promo code jamthatjam for 83% off and 3 months for free. Link at the top of the description for more details. Oh, and one more thing, jam that jam. Thanks again to Surfshark. That's our list. Again, what were your favorite matches of the year so far? Head on over to WrestleTalk.com for more news and lists, and check out our top 10 matches of 2020 video by clicking it on screen now. Jam that jam.